digital strategy consists of 4 phases. Set a vision, stop and think, create a business case, prioritize. Let's go through the steps one by one. Start with establishing a digital vision for the company. This vision indicates where the company would like to be, or what it would like to accomplish digitally within a certain time frame. Naturally, a gap will appear. You now know where to go, but not how to get there. Instead, stop and think. Take a look at your business internally. For instance, are your processes working as you'd like them to? Is your business functioning at its optimum? And look externally. What are the needs and expectations of your customers or business partners? And lastly, look at the development within yours and other industries. What are the current trends? With that inspiration in mind, you move on to the business case. You want to make well-informed decisions about your digital investment based on data and not based on assumptions or neat ideas. Do some number crunching. It will reveal the correlation between new digital initiatives and their potential value to the company. In other words, what will give the most for less? By doing the math, your company will start to focus on digital possibilities as true business development instead of just online marketing. You'll only apply initiatives that stand a chance of making an impact, financially or brand-wise. It's important for the company to think holistically. Even though it requires more work in terms of research and analysis, the outcome will be worth it in the end. Digital concepts that take both internal and external factors into account will provide most value. Now it's time to act. And based on the knowledge of budgets and opportunities, the initiatives must be prioritized. And that's fairly simple. Put the easiest and smallest projects at the top. For each project, your organization will be better at executing digitally. Now you know where to start to narrow the gap between your company and its digital vision. And so, digital strategy is not about investing lots of money in the company online media budget. It's an inseparable part of the company's core fundamentals. Not just moving your company forward, but making it truly part of the digital era.
So, and this is something that most businesses fail to understand, that when you start making a strategy, you will often face a lot of internal issues of the business that you will need to resolve. And it comes from the top management, and that's why the mindset is important, because advertising alone and spending money, even if you have virtually a lot of money and you can test and try things out, it's much wiser to rethink how you are doing business. What are the people that are involved in each process to make things happen? Because things have changed so fast the past decade that most businesses need to find again what their position is in the current marketplace. So this needs for them to rethink their business model. They need to think, where am I going to be in 10 years' time? Am I going to be transformed into a digital business if I am a business with physical establishment? What's the customer journey? How do they interact now with my business? I have clients that still don't pay attention when people send a message on Facebook and they expect the client to give them a call, and they don't dedicate their resources to be where the customer is, and that's a mindset problem. So we often find ourselves in a position where we need to not only change the internal processes of the business, not only change mindsets, but we also need to perhaps start rebranding ourselves, going down to see the core values of the business. Because if a business is well established, maybe it's on the second or third generation, they tend to forget their values. They tend to forget why they began in the first place and what their real purpose is. And they solely focus on making profit or giving value to shareholders. And this will mislead them in their next steps. So we often need to rethink about the whole business, rethink the values, create perhaps a new culture in the business, because whatever we say to people that we are, we need to support it and we need to show it. So we can't be a 21st century business and still look the other way when people are connecting and asking us questions on social media. We need to be where people are. So this is the SOSTAC model. It's something that you can search online and find this image. I had the pleasure of working with P.R. Smith. It's one of the most well-known models of creating a strategy, whatever strategy that is. It's not only marketing and digital marketing, but it's also business strategy. And we're gonna see some of it later on. So what are the most important components to make a strategy is who, why, which, where, when, and how. So we're gonna break this down the next hour and see some examples, some case studies, and analyze each and every one of them. And beginning with who is my client? So the first exercise of the day is for you to take your piece of paper and write down for yourself, for the business you work for, or for a client, who is the ideal client. Write down their demographics and their psychographics, and then you can even make a segmentation on that. And let me give you some examples as you are thinking about it. I oftentimes go to businesses and they ask me for help. And the first question I do is, who is your client? Most of the times, everybody. Everybody's my client. Everybody comes in the restaurant and eats my food. 5-year-olds, 90-year-olds. And then I go like this, okay, does the 5-year-old pay for your food? No. Their parents do, right? Yeah. So the 5-year-old is not your client. And, okay. Because you can't advertise to everybody. You don't have unlimited resources to target everybody all the time for decades. So you need to choose. And the first thing you need to do when segmenting and trying to identify your ideal audience is to go down to the core, to the most fanatic clients, to the ones that support you over time, and identify them. So let's take an example. One of my clients is a coffee shop. And when we created the new brand for the coffee shop, it's called Mel's Organic Coffee Shop. What we did is that we took the brand and its values, and we said, okay, it's an organic coffee shop. So who is the ideal client? It's people who have healthy lifestyle, they eat and drink consciously healthy, and the snacks we're going to have in the coffee shop need to, and the coffees need to respond first to this type of clients. It's people who do sports, it's people who may have health issues, so we need our products to be, let's say, low sugars or low calories, or organic coffee, organic snacks, and so on. Of course, everybody can drink the coffee, any type of person, and any type of person can eat the snack. But that's our core clientele. That's who we first and mostly target. So we need to identify our core audience, our fanatic audience, and take care of that first. Secondly, we'll go to the outer circle and see who else is a potential client. And then we need to also identify those people, the ones that will not go crazy with our brand, the ones that we will not heavily target, but the ones who have the potential also to become our clients. So take a few minutes, think about these two segments, your core fans and who everybody else might be, on the outer circle. Take away everybody who is not potentially a client, maybe demographically, maybe their location is out of your reach, or maybe their interests are totally out of your reach, and write them down on two separate columns.
I have a question. What if I'm starting a business and I don't know yet who is my client exactly? So how do I choose them? Is it just what I think about it, or I have to?
The first thing you need to do, as I mentioned, is you need to look at your values. So what type of business are you? What do you represent?
I'm a coach.
You're a coach, okay. So you need to write down your values, okay. So you will need to find the clients that respond to those values. So
those clients can be anyone in a graphic or...
It can't be anybody. It will be those who respond to what you want. Let's say for the coffee shop, one of the values is the healthy lifestyle. It's the healthy way of eating and living. So we want people who have that psychographic, let's say those interests, that respond to the organic coffee, that they prefer it, that they look for it. So let's say as a coach, if your values are honesty and integrity and doing things in a positive way, you need clients that share those values. They are people who like to learn and want a positive change in this world. So if somebody comes out and says, you know, I want you to coach me, but they are in an industry and the way they do business is unethical, you don't want them. They are not for you because you project something different.
Feels a little bit broad. Like people whose values are honesty and integrity is like half of the planet.
Yeah, but it's a beginning. Then you say, where do they live? We're going to see the rest of it. Actually, you are ahead of the question, so we'll narrow them down with the next answer. So wait a bit, and you'll get the answer. So, okay?
In my case, I do this for a campaign. Because as a company, in airline, very difficult, and I'm struggling to define the core consumer because we have families, we have single couples, we have as a target. So I perform this task each campaign. So if I'm going to do like a sales campaign for groups of people, then I define the core audience for that campaign.
Yeah.
So
good. Yeah.
am I right?
Yeah, that's the way, because you have identified the product for the right type of consumer,
Right.
and you advertise on those.
Right.
You don't advertise everything for everybody.
Right.
Okay, so you're on the right track. So, why choose me? The second question. Why? Why should those type of people I want to target, I want to have as clients, choose me over everybody else? Yeah, and you need to figure out your why, and it has again to do with your values, but it also has to do with your vision. What are you up to? And I was reading just a week ago that the new trend for the top businesses in the world, that it's just beginning, is the realization that shareholder value is not the most important thing for them. They realized after decades of working this way that they cannot sustain themselves many times because they look at the short term and not the long term. They think about the next quarter profits and how they're going to share, how they will satisfy the shareholders, and they miss the big picture. And that is, what's my purpose as a business in this world? What is the long-term value I give? Because when you look at the short term, you tend as a business to look, okay, this month is not going well enough. We should discount our products. And then you discount your products. And then next quarter you need to do the same because you need to sustain profits. And then you need to keep people coming into the shop, let's say. But if we take Amazon, for example, what does Amazon do? Amazon invests all of their money into new businesses. They don't give profits out of shares. And that value they create over time reflects on the price of their stock. As other businesses, they like to pile up profits and give profits to shareholders. And then each quarter there's a speculation how much turnover they will do, how much profit they will do. And if they don't meet the expectations, their stock price goes down. And then they have a problem. And then they fire the CEO or whoever is in charge. So the tendency now is to look at the long term. So businesses are trying to figure, why the hell did I start in the first place? Why am I doing this business? And they try to communicate this why to the people. But because it can be very complicated for many to find a compelling enough reason for people to respond, let's see Simon Sinek, who explains it best.
I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose, what's your cause, what's your belief. Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers, the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients who do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And then Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. When we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and the figures, and you say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart, or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, there's other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal?
So, makes sense that we need to figure out why we do what we do and then communicate it first. Otherwise, we are competing on how we do it and about the features of the product, and then there's no distinctive difference between product A or product B for the client. So if we are able to take out our why and communicate it, then the decision-making process for the client will be much easier. And yes, they will pay a premium for our service. If this wasn't the case, then only the businesses that sell, let's say, the cheapest product will survive. But it's not always about the price. We don't always buy the cheapest. And that is evident in all industries. So let's see this ad from Apple.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
So this is the ad, the famous ad Apple did to communicate their differentiation, and it had nothing to do with a product or a service or a price. So let's go to which, and this is which type of content is more suitable. Is it video, is it articles, is it graphics, is it text, is it podcasts? So when we think about our ideal client and we want to communicate our why, we need to think about the content. How do they consume best what we have to communicate? Because many times we might spend hours thinking about the perfect article, how to make the best possible video, or create a podcast because it's trend now. But we forget about the client. We forget about their habits, the way they listen, the way they understand the message. And we need to ask people, we need to make a small research and see, why isn't my article getting a lot of reads? Why isn't my podcast get listeners? Just because people may not want to consume what you have to say in that way. So you need to identify what type of content is best in my case. What others do in the industry. What is it that I can do differently? What are the current trends? These are things you need to look out, pinpoint, take the data when you publish your content, analyze it, and see what works best. And when you figure out what works best, capitalize on that to make it better and better and better, and provide the best possible experience, the best possible type of content that your clients consume so they can get the message. And now we are living in an age of repetition, meaning that people don't focus so much now. We all have our mobile phones and we scroll all the time. So we need to see a message at least 14 times before we take an action. So our content needs to be interesting. Interesting enough so people can actually stop, pay attention, and push the button. So your content needs to be there. You need consistency, and you need the right type of content, and you need to give it to people all the time. I still hear businesses that have a question. How much do I post on social media? 2 times a week? 3 times a week? If you haven't figured out that yet, it means you haven't figured out your content and your clients. Just put it out there, test it every single day. Do 5 stories a day. See how many people watch it. See how they respond. Ask questions. See how many hits you get, how many views you get. Analyze it. Imagine what's the experience on your content you will get if you post twice a week for a year, and if you post 5 times a day for a year. The insights you will get of what works and what doesn't will be 10 times more. So if you are not there yet, try things out. That's the way you get experience of what works best in your industry. And that's how you get ahead of competition. So where are my clients? We've spent time analyzing our why, figuring out who our client is, and creating the right type of content, and it's all great. But where the hell are my clients? How do I choose which network to focus on? Because most of the time we hear that Instagram is #1 now. Everybody's on Instagram. I should be there too. Podcasts, the new trend. Let's do it. Let's make a podcast, and you devote your time, your energy, your resources to do a podcast. Are your clients there? How do you know? Which social media do they use? Are they on mobile or desktop? Get your statistics, Google Analytics, figure it out. Which websites do they use? Which apps do they use? If I don't know where my ideal client spends their time, I could be wasting almost all my resources in building up content for a social media network that they don't use. Or make it even more simple, that they don't use for the purpose I want. And let me give you an example. Who has Facebook? Who has Instagram? LinkedIn? Most of us? Okay. So, do you do exactly the same things on every network? No. Do you love doing business on LinkedIn? Yeah. Do you love doing business on Facebook? So. Instagram? No, that's all. Exactly. So if I'm trying to pass on a message, if I'm trying to push my content to you on Instagram, and it's something that you don't want to see, it's something that you don't want to pay attention, you feel it's spamming you, then I shouldn't be there. I should be where you are, and I should be with the right type of content. Let's say I should be on LinkedIn because that's where you are to do business. And I should be able, as a brand, to identify just that. Because I will be giving you the best possible experience with my brand and not spamming you. And the trend that many businesses want to be everywhere, all the time, pushing their content is obsolete. You should focus. You should focus your time, your energy, your content to be visible where you are, where your clients are. Because if I have, let's say, $100, okay, and I need to promote my content to the right type of client, should I do it by going on all, let's say, 3, 4, 5 different networks? No, I should focus it where my clients are, as simple as that. So you need to make a choice. So you've seen that from the beginning until now, it's about making choices. It's about deciding what to do, what not to do. Because doing everything is virtually impossible, and to do it well. So the latest statistics on the digital world, we have 7.6 billion population with 5.1 billion unique mobile users. I mean, there are more mobile phones in the world than there are toothbrushes. And that's the reality of today. 4.3 billion users and 3.5 almost are active on social media. And let me tell you that in Cyprus, since we are here, we are top of the list in the EU. 94% of the people who have access to internet in Cyprus, they use social media. So, when is the right time to communicate with our clients? Even this is important. So we have identified the content, we have identified where they are, but what's the right time? And everybody asks, should I post in the morning? Should I post on midday? Should I post on the evening? Well, let's break it down a bit and see what's the best for you, for your brand, for your client, because it's not the same for everybody. So, how often do I post? What's the best time? When do I send an email? In the morning, in the night? Specific hours of the day? Is it before people go to work? Is it after they put kids in bed? When are they paying attention? Specific events? When they use certain apps? Let's say, let me give you another example. If I was going to advertise pizza, when do you think would be the best time to advertise pizza if I had?
Evening 7 o'clock.
Afternoon towards night, and let's combine it with another thing. So we said specific hours, but specific events.
Maybe the weekend.
Maybe football games. Eurovision night, maybe, yeah. So you see that it's not about spending money all the time everywhere to everybody. It's about choosing when is the right time, when people want to eat pizza. Last year, I was inviting people to watch Eurovision at my house. I had about 30 people, just for the fun of it, to watch Furera. She was, the favorite. Even my son liked her, and he's 2 years old. So we had people at home and we ordered the pizzas. 1.5 hours later, pizzas had not yet arrived. We called the pizza house and they say, yeah, we're gonna bring them, but we don't know when. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, it may be in an hour, it may be at 12 o'clock in the night. We can't say. They had so much work, unpredicted, unorganized, expecting that they couldn't cope, versus a second brand where they realized that we will advertise at this event. We know that people love eating pizza during this type of events. So when they realized that their deliveries were at full capacity, they launched a second campaign, thinking proactively, saying, when you take away the pizza, you come to our shop, 40% off. So what people do, they stop delivering and they started going for takeaway. And that's what we finally did. We called the second brand. 40 minutes later, we had the pizzas and we did the takeaway. So it's very important to think about events, to think about the hours you need to advertise, when to send the email, and if you are proactive, if you have a calendar, then you will start putting things in place and it will make a lot of sense. And with so many platforms nowadays that you can automate your content, it makes it even easier. So let's say the first thing I do, and some clients do apply it, is to think of holidays or name days. So we have a yearly schedule, we put all the important dates, all the major events, and we say, okay, this product goes with this event. So on 2 days prior, we'll start advertising to this type of consumers our product for that specific event. And sales go up because people will look for that type of product or service at that specific time. So it's important for us to realize it and be in front of their eyes, because when they are going to make a choice, they will make a choice based on what the available information is in front of them at that point. Because we don't always eat sushi, sometimes with pizza, sometimes with Mexican, sometimes with souvlaki. So we need to remind people of the options they have, and people will choose from the available options they have in front of them. Make sense? So let's see a nice video explaining the when.
The Super Bowl blackout last night helped Oreo brand shine brightly. We're going to discuss that now. Sarah Hofstetter, president of 360i, was behind Oreo brand shining brightly. Well done on that. The lights go out, and then you were there. Tell us the scene and what you did to help Oreo really seize the moment.
Well, Oreo was already an advertiser in the Super Bowl, so our team was all gathered at the office, waiting and listening to the conversation that was happening and ready to capitalize and optimize the campaign in real time. So when the lights went out, everybody was together and ready to get moving on it. And the first thing that came was, hey, this is an opportunity. The entire world is watching and there's nothing on. So quickly, everyone pulled together a design, a caption. The folks from Oreo were in the room and we got something out in just a few minutes.
Now, just a few minutes, exactly how many minutes was it? Because there's just a few minutes can mean a lot of things. It can actually mean an hour, it could mean 2 minutes. What was it?
Well, the post itself went out 10 minutes after the blackout hit. But we were actually, even before that, so after 5 minutes, we had the design, the caption, and everything ready to go, but we also wanted to make sure that everyone was safe. We still didn't know for sure that it was just a power outage. So once we got the go-ahead that everybody was safe and that it was simply a technical failure, that's when we posted. So it was 10 minutes from the time the blackout happens until the time that on the social networks.
Sarah, I understand that this is the most retweeted Oreo tweet ever.
Oh, I don't know about ever, but certainly for the brand Oreo, it was very exciting and the best performing tweet that the brand has had to date.
Now, is this the way that advertising is going to be going forward? When you see an opening, you have to move really quickly?
That's a great question. I think it's more about being relevant at the right time, and the Oreo brand has always been exceptionally brave about testing new waters. It's really been fantastic to see the brand be relevant in cultural communications for years now, and because they've built a following over the years, they have 31 million fans on Facebook, tens of thousands of people following on Twitter. We gave the fans what they were looking for, and they responded with fantastic advocacy. So you've got to build before you can jump into a conversation like that.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you very much for joining us. Sarah Hofstad, President of 360i, all behind getting that tweet out there in such short order.
So, a few years back at the Super Bowl, there was a blackout, and everybody was on Twitter comment about it. So all the major brands, of course, advertise during the Super Bowl on various occasions, and it gets really expensive. So what did Oreo did? They went on Twitter, they got within 10 minutes a nice post saying you can still dunk in the dark, so you can still dunk, you are cooking the milk even if it's dark, which is something most people do. So they got the most retweeted and shared and liked post of all time at that point for a brand. So it was an amazing timing. They were alert, they were ready to jump on the event. They already knew what was happening, and they took advantage of the attention of the people and their potential clients were giving on Twitter at that point. So they got this huge exposure. They were gonna, let's say, pay a lot of money for it otherwise. So you see how you can take advantage of moments, and if you can manage to make your brand current, that is to talk about things that your clients talk about, to be where your clients are, this is a huge advantage because you become part of that culture, and it's much easier to communicate your why. People will understand it much better because you are there with them. So, how is your competition doing? We often say that we don't care about competition and we are looking at our own business. But that might give you a disadvantage. So why is it important to look at competition? We need to analyze and learn where we stand today against competition before we formulate a strategy. Because we may think that we have a great strategy, we have great content, we have this and we have that, but the bar may be too high and we are aiming too low. So we need to see where do we stand. Are we market leaders in communication? In that product or service? Are we in the middle? Are we in the end? What's the perception clients have for us? So before we communicate anything, we need to know, and we need to check out and measure the online exposure, the positive and negative feedback people give to our competitors, services or products. What's their social media presence, digital marketing practices, website, blog, fan base, and advertising spending. I mean, now you can even go to competitors' Facebook page and see what they are advertising. So you can look which posts they advertise, and you can see which posts do I advertise. You can go to Alexa and see what's their traffic rank. Do they get visits on their website? Or is it just a nice website? Or is it an obsolete website? Last year I did an exercise for my students at CIIM, and we had to compare two of the most well-known coffee brands in Cyprus. And during this analysis, we took a look at their websites. The group that was assigned to look at the coffee shops, they went to the first brand and they saw a website that was like 15 years ago. They were like, oh, we can't believe it. This brand, they don't have a proper website. Surely the second brand will be much, much better. There's no way there can be worse than this. They go to the second brand, exactly the same. A website 15 years ago. Not mobile friendly, not up to date, no news, no stories, no content, no nothing. Just contact information. It was so bad. because you couldn't believe that even big brands, even well-known brands, don't take care of their image. So if I was one, let's say, social media advisor for one of the two brands, I will immediately identify where I stand in the real world and what I can do better than the competition. And I will act on it immediately. That's where you identify opportunities. So you can also make a search on Google and see when I post the most popular phrases, what pops up? Is it my competition or is it me? Do I see advertisements from my competitors or not? Many times you will see that there is an opportunity to advertise on keywords that are important and nobody's doing it. And that is huge room for improvement. So you take all these questions we raised here, you put it on a matrix, and you see, this is my competition, this is me. And you identify the opportunities that are there for you. And you also know where you stand. So before you make a strategy, make sure you know where you stand today. So you can put the right goals where you want to go tomorrow. Because you might think that I'm going to do these 10 things we saw today, and for sure I'm going to be top. But then you realize that all your efforts have not met your goals because the competition is outperforming you. So you need to see what they're doing. So you can take a look at their metrics, their social media presence, the followers they have, the engagement they have, their website or their blog. You can go to Alexa, Google Analytics, positive, negative feedback, and content. What type of content do they put? What engagement do they have? And this is, I mean, you can see it even in big brands. They may have 100,000 followers, and then you see 10, 20 likes on a post. And you realize, okay, so what's the point of having 100,000 followers if nobody's liking my content? And I'll tell you another misconception, especially on Facebook, that since Facebook has decreased the organic reach and made the algorithm not giving you much exposure, it's all about paid advertising. That is far from the truth. That is very far from the truth. Even for brands that don't have something everyone is looking for each day and they need to promote their content, they need to spend time creating the right type of content for the right type of people in the right timing so they can get organic reach. I have brands I've worked with that they have, let's say, 25,000 likes on Facebook, and they have 2 posts per day, and they get around 10,000 organic reach. Yeah, organic reach.
Engagement.
Yeah, likes and shares and questions and stuff like that. But once you get over time to know what your audience wants and give it to them in the best possible way, then you will get the organic reach you deserve. Because it's a matter of time and a matter of content and the insights, and you make them work for you. I have other brands I've worked with that they have organic reach, no way, we don't care, doesn't work. Here it's 5,000 euros per month, advertise. And they spend zero effort in creating meaningful content. It's just, we have a new menu, this is the price, come and eat. And they spend so much money without a reason. So, let's see what Lego did a few years back.
Last month, you told an audience in Connecticut, quote, "We had become a company that did not listen to our customers," end quote. Isn't that rule number 1 in business? What happened?
Pretty much so. I mean, we had probably had too many years of consecutive success prior to, a decade ago, and had become a little bit too introvert, and probably also a little bit too, ignoring the needs of our customers and our consumers.
What did the company learn from its mistakes?
Well, exactly what we've been leveraging the last 10 years, and as you alluded to, we now have the 10 consecutive years of growth in the US, and part of that success comes from actually really understanding the needs of children, making sure that we have products that are relevant to any age and stage of children, Did you have focus groups of kids? Did they tell you what you want? We had focus groups of kids all the time. Well, but maybe we were filtering them in a different way than we used to. We are filtering them in a different way now than we used to, and really listening with a different ear. Because focus groups you can either listen to or you can really listen.
Absolutely.
And I think we taught ourselves to really listen.
To make money, you had to spend money. Which areas did you target?
We spent a lot of money in the product development side. We spent a lot of money with our retail partners to make sure that the execution of the Lego brand at store level, as well as online, has become really interesting and appealing to shoppers actually.
You are in an industry that is constantly evolving. What are you doing to keep up? Where are you being challenged?
I don't think right now we actually really being challenged. I think we're enjoying the time we have right now. We're having fun. I think what is really the key to our success is that constant listening, that constant being in tune. When kids want to move into the digital space, how do we move into the digital space with children instead of trying to ignore the digital space? How do we go into storytelling when kids want to go more into storytelling? And it's really been part of the success of the company.
Lego Friends, that's a new line that's aimed at girls. It's been growing 20% a year since it was introduced in 2012. Why did it take so long for the company to break this gender stereotype?
I don't know if you can say for us it's less of a gender, specifically with our games on Wii and Xbox and so the PlayStation years back. And already there we saw that by allowing kids to play a Lego experience in that environment, entice them to come back and do even more on the hands-on mindset. Because at the end of the day, we are not a digital company. We are a hands-on mindset, tactile company, and the product is. And by figuring out how we can allow children to interact seamlessly between those two worlds is one of the ways that has been very successful.
What does it mean for you personally to see a child playing with Legos, to see the creative process starting to take hold? Because I see that with my own son, where you see sometimes they'll go away from the instructions and they make their own toys, and then you're thinking engineer, you're thinking architect. You see the wheels starting to turn.
Most of us go to work, a Lego group go to work every day with a mission to inspire the builders of tomorrow. We believe in the importance of developing creativity and allowing children to use their imagination. So seeing that focus moment, we call it the joy of building the product creation, is immensely important to us. That's why we go to work every day.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you, the movie site Fandango, it conducted a poll on this year's Oscar nominations. The Lego movie was cited as the top omission. Right. What's your reaction to that? I think everybody thought best animated feature, Lego's got to be a sure hit, right?
You know, I don't know what goes on in Hollywood. I'm not an expert in that, but I do know.
Did you say, or somebody else said that's okay, we'll build our own Lego Oscars?
I think one of the directors said, they built their own Oscar. And you know, for us, we had huge success with the Lego movie, and we're proud about that, and that's as important to us as anyone.
So there'll be a sequel?
There will in 2018.
Wow, nice.
So, whatever we discussed about today, this guy just told us how they transformed Lego from a traditional company into a company that first listens to their clients. They've segmented, going from kids to boys and girls, understanding what girls want, how they play with the product, and provide them with that product. We've seen how they realized where kids are now, and they are online. So they went on Wii and Xbox, and they created movies. So they can be where their clients are. And then those clients, when they get excited about that, they go back and buy the original product. Otherwise, if you are not in front of the eyes of the consumer, they might forget your product. And Lego suffered many, many, many years of losses, and they realized that they need to transform digitally. So they choose the right networks, they chose to be online. I mean, go now on your Facebook page and visit the Lego Facebook page. If you haven't in the past, you'll see something that is pretty amazing. Lego has probably Lego has probably one of the most sophisticated chatbot experience you can have on Facebook? Because they realized that, okay, since my clients are on social media and they are on Facebook, remember, clients, not users, not kids, they're parents. Since the people who are buying my product, my clients, are on Facebook, and they want to buy through Facebook, I want to make it very simple for them. I'm going to create a chatbot that will answer every question with humor, provide alternatives, and guide you to buy the right toy for the kid on the price you want. So you can try it later on if the Wi-Fi is too slow, but it's just to see how far ahead they went, knowing that that's what they need to do. And that's what they need to do to be ahead of competition as well. Because the biggest manufacturer of toys in USA is closed down because they failed to address these issues, because they failed to create a strategy that will give them the answer the why, that failed to go where the clients are. They failed to realize what they need to give to the clients, what products, what service, to provide the best possible experience. And they failed to understand what processes they need to lay down and what money they need to give and what people they need to employ and so on to get things right. So they eventually closed down. Thank you very much. Now I can answer any question you might have. Oh, we can go for a break. Yeah.
I have one. Basically, we talked about the strategy and the why, and we see this. You mentioned also the phenomenon of companies going for non-profit in a sense and having a more socio-cultural purpose rather than profit.
They are going for a profit, but they don't focus on making short-term profit. They focus on giving value in the long term, and they know that they are going to win in the long term.
Right.
So they have a more sustainable business because they shift their focus from making money into providing value.
Exactly, and this value is something that we heard over and over again the last 5 years about millennials selecting product because of the company being a nice company or being a supportive company and being part of the LGBTQ or being part of the environmental riots at this moment. Is this really facts, or is there something more behind this need to set your socio-cultural values?
Yeah. Let me separate. Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you mean. Let me separate it a bit. I mean, if your business is not built on those values, the business model is not there.
Right.
So if you just advertise that this is what I am, but your processes, your values do not support it, you will fail.
Mm-hmm.
And look what Nike did just last year. They made a huge choice. They segmented their audience. Everybody buys Nike, yeah? But they decided that they're going to segment their audience. They decided that we want our core clients to be here for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So we're going to make a stand. So I'm going to put this guy who didn't stand up for the national anthem, yeah? Because we want to make a point, we want to make a stance, and we are going to go with people who stand for something, and they stand for human rights. This was a huge thing. At the first few days, the stock price of Nike went down, but then they came back with online sales of people who, you know, associated with that. We said, yeah, this is a brand I want to buy from. But they showed it in practice. They stopped just advertising, and it made a huge difference for them. So, yeah.
They have for female encouragement as well. They have lots of advertisements like for female sport persons.
Yeah, and their latest campaign with Serena Williams and other athletes is there to support it, but they are taking action step towards it. And these are the brands that are authenticate, they know what their values is, they communicate it, and they follow it. I mean, even Pepsi, who has a bad history with their water, now they are making $1 billion investment to lay down processes and, start changing that. Because the brands are realizing that people are watching, and people can make huge difference. And a few years back, the same thing happened with Mattel. When people started acting on the packaging of Mattel and Kit Kat coming from trees from palm oil, and they were destroying rainforests, they even forced these companies that are huge and have been doing this thing for many years to change. So that's why brands need to reevaluate where they stand. They need to rethink who they are, what they are doing in the present economic environment. So thank you very much. Our time is up, and I'll answer any more questions outside. Thank you.
Thank you.